I stood trembling in the shadowy recesses of the marketplace, my pulse pounding in perfect rhythm with the dying echoes of gunfire. The once vibrant stalls were now a warped reflection of despair, their colors dulled under the oppressive weight of ash and smoke. The new order had soured our world, transforming trade into treachery and commerce into chaos. I peered around the corner, heart racing, as I squinted through the haze. Men and women wielded weapons carved from the remnants of centuries' worth of conflict, fragments of our history forged into instruments of destruction. There was a sharp crack, followed by a high-pitched scream that sent a jolt of electricity through my veins. I had to get to the other side of the square. If I didn't find Joska before the drumming of heavy boots announced their presence, there wouldn't be an after in my afterlife. Joska was the best at navigating the turf wars of the Varnathians, whose very essence seemed woven into the fabric of chaos. They were no ordinary miscreants. These creatures, shaped by a harrowing past, embraced the art of warfare as if it were their birthright. They twisted violence into aesthetics, their fluid movements like dancers pirouetting amid the chaos. I couldn't understand what led them, or the townsfolk for that matter, to redefine war as an art form. All I knew was that Joska was deep in that world, far too deep for my comfort. I inhaled sharply, a rush of fear mingled with determination fueling my limbs. It was either I put my head down and ran, or I faced the consequences of my choice to follow Joska on this reckless venture. "I will not leave without you," I muttered half-heartedly, trying to convince myself. The childhood promise weighed heavily on my shoulders, made of dreams and crushing consequences. I dashed across the square, narrowly avoiding the spotlight of a guard's loomed lens. The droning call of Varnathian war horns echoed in the distance, their cacophony gripping my throat like an icy fist. A fierce sense of loyalty clawed at my mind. Our lives had inexplicably intertwined ever since Joska had found me, a misfit lost amidst the lingering conflicts. He had pulled me from the embers, and now it was my turn to return the favor. As I crept through the half-shattered husks of buildings where once jubilant markets thrived, I caught my reflection in a piece of warped metallic scrap. It almost felt like seeing a ghost. My auburn hair was a tangly mess, streaked with soot, and beneath the grime lay the traces of an eager artist, me. I was meant to create, not destroy, yet this world pulled me into its merciless grasp. Every moment spent on this path pushed me closer to being unrecognizable. I turned another corner, feeling the discordant energy shimmer around me. Graffiti plastered the walls, depictions of battle left raw and visceral, almost beautiful in their grotesqueness. I had once dwelled in this world as a casual observer, sketching scenes that others found terrifying, but now I followed the trail of chaos, watching as the merciless symphony unfolded. Then the sound of a pain-racked cry broke the fugue. My heart dropped. Was it Joska? I surged toward the sound, my footfalls muted against the cobblestones slick with rain and the residue of smoky ash. With each step, I felt a familiar pain gnaw at my insides. A fear I had buried time and again, nurtured by guilt and the weight of the choices that had brought us here. When I finally arrived at the source, a crumbling structure marked with sweeping strokes of red paint, a known Varnathian base, I wasn't ready for what I found. Joska, injured and crumbled against the rough stone wall, grimaced as he clutched his side, a vivid crimson bloom spreading beneath his fingers. Power surged through me, but it was accompanied by shock and dread. The stakes had never felt more real. All those times we danced the edge of calamity were moot now. "Joska," I called, urgency lacing my voice, more question than declaration. Moving closer, I scanned the surroundings for threats. "What happened?" He looked up, eyes blazing with a mix of pain and a wild spark. An artist who was both a soldier and a muse. "They're coming," he rasped, a shadow of his former exuberance haunting his words. "You cannot stay, not here, not in this chaos." I knelt beside him, the warmth of his blood stark against the debris of our world. "We talked about this. We agreed to face it together," I blurted out, the bond forged in shared dreams unraveling under the weight of reality. Those agreements were feral, runaway fantasies we spun from threads of hope. He spat, his voice breaking. Pain contorted his features. There was no doubt he had faced the Varnathians, lured by the unfinished masterpieces of conflict they touted. If you stay, you'll become one of them. A flicker of anger bubbled within me as I felt him slipping from my grasp, not just the physical, but the tether of who he was. I had promised to accompany him on this journey, not to lose myself in it. Yet here I stood, a digital scribe pressing against history, with Jaska's essence fading as the war played on. Damn it, Jaska, don't you get it? I chose this path because of you. Your vision, your drive, your desire to turn this darkness into light. It pulled me from the void. I won't abandon you now. I gripped his hand, though it slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. With a smile that barely masked despair, he let out a pained chuckle. You've always been the artist, but it's not enough to paint a canvas when it's burning around you. Those words struck deep, and dread wrapped around my chest tighter than any Varnathian grip. My future was entwined with the power of choices laid before me, and for now, I could either step closer to the fire or abandon everything that had made me who I was. Yet leaving was a theft of moments, of memories, of the connection forged in the heart of chaos. There had to be another way, a way to forge the art from this war together. But standing there, the pain in Jaska's gaze reflected both my helplessness and the battle raging within me. As the shadows of soldiers crept close, I wiped the tears that clouded my vision. He was right. I was an artist trying to carve beauty from ruin, but I was not ready to forsake the promise of love. I could still find the art within the storm. I just had to convince Jaska of that before we were lost forever. I knelt in the dim, crumbling chamber of the Varnathian base, the metallic tang of blood heavy in the air. Jaska's breath came in harsh gasps, filling the silence with a rhythm that matched the booming echoes of the conflict outside. I pressed my hand against his wound, desperately trying to stem the blood that seeped between my fingers. The world around us, once vibrant with color and energy, had begun to warp into shades of gray as despair wrapped its tendrils around my heart. Jaska, listen to me, I urged, desperation lifting my voice. You can't check out on me, not now, not when we're so close. I leaned in closer, brushing aside the hair clinging to his forehead. His eyes, usually ablaze with determination, flickered like a dying star. He grimaced but managed a smirk tinged with pain. My fierce champion, ecstasy in chaos. You don't have to do this. His voice was a whisper of a lost dream, heavy with resignation. You're not a warrior. It's not your path. Maybe, I said, fighting the tremor in my voice, but this is our journey. I'm not going to let you slip away. With a swift decision, I clamped my hand tighter over his wound, focusing on the pulse of energy coursing through me. Every lesson from the old healer flashed through my mind, the importance of perception, of channeling strength against despair. From somewhere deep within, I summoned the shimmering tendrils of the nanotech healing spray that I had scavenged just a week before. A small device, the original intentions of which were stripped away by the realities around us, lay hidden in the depths of my backpack. I retrieved it and presented it to him. Take this, I said, hoping it would be enough to heal him. A jolt of incredulity flashed across his face, mingling with a hint of doubt. What? How did you get that? It doesn't matter, just trust me, I countered, forcing him to accept it with trembling hands. With the device nested uncomfortably in his palm, he hesitated, the battle raging outside calling for him with an anguished howl of voices, war horns, and gunfire. You don't understand. I do. You're not alone in this fight. My voice cracked, carrying the weight of every sleepless night I had spent wondering if the chaos would swallow us whole. Jaska looked into my eyes, searching for threads of truth amidst the shadows. Slowly, he activated the spray. The mist enveloped the wound, weaving through the stream of crimson, knitting the fabric of flesh before my eyes. His breath shuddered, the pain receding as the nanotechnological miracle worked its magic. Thank you, he murmured, exhaustion flooding his features, but the spark was returning to his gaze. I'd do anything for you, I whispered, the vulnerability of my admission hanging in the air like the remnants of a shattered dream. But we have to keep moving. As if in answer to my plea, the booming footsteps of Varnathian soldiers echoed outside the hollow spaces of the marketplace. "They're coming," Joska said, his expression hardening into resolve. "We need to find a place to regroup, or we might get trapped here." I nodded. The marketplace had to hold better avenues for escape than we were aware of. "What's our next move? They are not just pushing us out," he said, pushing himself off the wall, using the back of my shoulder for support. "They're trying to pin us down and isolate pockets of resistance. If we can't regroup with the others," his voice trailed off into a fog of uncertainty. I glanced at the passage leading to the dark underbelly of the market and hesitated. "We have to find a way to meet up with the Zalkiri, the rebels. They'll know where to go next." A slight grin broke through Joska's weariness. "I like this new fearless version of you." "Survival has a way of making people brave," I quipped, and with a shared understanding, we set off into the confusing labyrinth of the crumbling structures that still whispered stories of life before desperation. The market was less chaotic now, filled with a tension that stitched us to the shadows. All around us lay evidence of struggle. Broken crates bearing goods destined for more peaceful times, draped remnants of woven tapestries, once bright now dulled with the ash of conflict. But remnants told stories, and those stories urged me on. We sidled through narrow cracks in the crumbling walls, while the light faded above us, casting everything in shadow. Joska pressed closer, and an electric spark ran through the air as we emerged into a larger common room veiled in darkness. The room was an abandoned artist studio, scattered with sculptures that had long faded in inspiration, yet the ethereal shapes held the traces of something great. Every stroke of artistry seemed to echo our plight. Here, creativity had been stifled, just as hope flickered in the twilight. My heart clenched. "In this place," I mumbled, half in awe, half in despair. "What happened?" "They wiped it clean," Joska murmured, pain lacing his words as he avoided the sharp edges of abandoned tools that lay like forgotten sentinels around us. "Creativity has no place in a world like this." Yet, curiosity flickered through my mind as I knelt, touching the weathered clay of a half-finished sculpture. It could still be saved, transformed into something stunning, even beautiful, given time and love. And nothing's truly lost until we give up. Joska looked back at me, incredulity dancing in his eyes. "Are you suggesting we use art as a weapon?" "Art is a revolution, Joska. It embodies everything we yearn for: freedom, self-expression, hope. Look around you. This place may have been hollowed out, but it needs a voice again." Before answer could fall from his lips, the quiet was shattered by the ingress of boots. We ducked low, hearts racing, as a squad of soldiers marched in the dim light. Varnathian enforcers, menacing in their armored exosuits, scanned the area. The air felt thick with the tension of predator versus prey. "They're searching for us," Joska hissed. "We should." Before he could finish, the soldiers began yelling, their voices cutting through the fabric of silence. "Keep your eyes peeled. They were last seen near here. Flush them out. Quick, behind that sculpture," I whispered urgently. A moment of breathless urgency turned into a tangle of limbs as I pulled Joska behind crumbling artistry, both of us cramming into the small space. I could feel his body heat next to mine, the magnetic charge between us animating the air. "They're going to destroy it all," he muttered, eyes drifting towards the soldiers ransacking the studio. "And we can't let them. Not this. Not us," I replied, resolve hardening within me. Here we were, artists caught in a war we never wanted, but within the fire of conflict flared the resolve to sculpt a future birthed from ashes. Joska turned to me, his expression a symphony of doubt and hope. "If we're going to fight back, we have to gather our allies fast before the art, before the stories, before it's all forgotten." "Exactly," I whispered, summoning all my courage. "But we need to distract them." A flash of recognition passed through his eyes, igniting a fire. "The old artist's projector," he breathed, glancing towards the far wall where dusty wires snaked amid deteriorating paint. "If we fix it, we might create an illusion, a distraction big enough to get us out." I nodded, heart racing. Let's create one last masterpiece. We both crept toward the wall, Jaska's hand brushing against mine, sending a thrilling shock through me. With urgency brimming in my veins, I knelt next to the ruptured projector, its mechanisms covered in dust but still radiating potential. A plan formed in my mind. I needed to redirect the power from the nearby generator and bridge it to the remnants of the projector. I'll handle the projector. You get us some power, I said, looking into his eyes. Got it, he replied. I watched him move with determination, slipping effortlessly toward the generator, every moment pushing against the expanse of our uncertainty. Hope surged like a rising tide, the realization that chaos wasn't the end. The soldiers were growing restless. I could feel their frustration vibrating in the air around us. My fingers trembled as I worked. Come on, I whispered under my breath, digging through the tangled wires, desperation urging me on. As Jaska fussed with the generator and I fought my own shadows of doubt, the soldiers' proximity sent waves of both fear and excitement surging through me. With each turn of the wrench, I could envision a world born not just from desperate artistry, but something more beautiful, a world ignited by the colors of compassion, creativity, and hope. Finally, with a final twist, the projector whirred to life. Light burst forth, illuminating the barren walls with vibrant flashes of color. I quickly flicked through what seemed like decades of old footage, painting scenes of beauty and life, a future rich with canvases, full of laughter and inspiration. What are you doing? Jaska hissed as he returned to my side, the soldiers loading their weapons with impatience. Creating a diversion, I replied, locking eyes with him. Let's restore what we've lost. The illumination poured into the room, images of laughter and love, places where creativity reigned once more, splashed against the shadows surrounding us. In this moment, we were creating art not just for ourselves, but for everyone who had ever suffered in silence within a world squashed by violence. As a tempest of confusion erupted among the soldiers, the chaos unleashed and the projector recaptured their attention. What the hell is this? One of them shouted, pointing at the brilliant images materializing before their eyes. I could see their hands hesitating as they lowered their weapons, momentarily lost in the nostalgia of beauty. Jaska grabbed my hand, his eyes wide with shared exhilaration. And now, he commanded, pulling me toward the exit. As we swooped into the shadows beyond the room, I felt the magnetic pull of our connection. Two souls fused by a relentless passion to reclaim our narrative. We surged outside, adrenaline coursing through us as the distant pulse of the chaotic world peeled away behind us. Outside, the flickers of light danced in the air as blooming bursts of color marked our newfound path. With determination lighting our spirits, we raced toward the heart of the Varnathian resistance, emboldened by the chronicles we aspired to write. With each step, the images of hope and artistry intertwined with our will, and I realized that together, we could reshape the very fabric of our world. It was time to reclaim our power, one stroke at a time, and I knew the fight would not be futile. It would be a symphony, a collective act of defiance, a revolution bursting forth from the ashes of despair. The journey awaited us, filled with wonders yet to be unlocked, a landscape inhabited by both struggles and dreams, whispering secrets of a tomorrow that shone brighter than the impending darkness. With fiery determination flooding my heart, I glanced over to Jaska, our eyes locking in an unfathomable dance of hopes and futures intertwined. The universe had drawn us together, and together we would unfold the next chapter of our story, for every ending deserves a new beginning. The distant rumble of cannons echoed through the narrow streets of Skylith, shaking loose bricks from crumbling facades and reverberating the tension coursing through my veins. The remnants of the Varnathian War echoed not just outside, but also deep within me, each explosion punctuating my resolve. Jaska and I entwined our fingers, lending strength to one another's fears as we navigated the filth and decay that lingered in the heart of the old marketplace. "Can you hear that?" he whispered, his voice strained, betraying the sense of urgency coursing through him. I paused, narrowing my focus to the chaos around us. Their regrouping, I replied, instinctively recognizing the cadence of boots loading up for a second wave of engagement. We need to reach the core of the resistance, the Zalkiri. The streets of Skylith weren't just blocks of decaying structures. They were veins pulsating with the fading heartbeat of a society caught in turmoil. Each corner promised either salvation or demise. I felt the pulse of 1,000 stories, every moment heavy with meaning, not just our purpose, but the burden of those who had come before, the artists and warriors who molded beauty out of tragedy. A sudden voice broke through my reverie, jolting me back to the present. You too, hands up, identify yourselves. A squad of armored enforcers emerged from the shadows, weaponry glinting dangerously in the water, slick streets. Run, I shouted, adrenaline igniting the urgency of our plight. We darted down the closest alleyway, heartbeats pounding like war drums as we twisted between makeshift barriers and the remnants of lives once lived. Wait, Jaska called breathlessly, coming to a halt as we reached what appeared to be the charred remains of an artisan's studio. He turned to me, a wild glint in his eye. Look. He pointed to the walls adorned with splashes of vibrant ceramic tiles and remnants of sculptures. This can be our sanctuary. Oh, what are you suggesting? I asked, confusion mixing with disbelief as the distant footfalls grew louder, slicing through our window of opportunity. We can use this place, he insisted, urgency coloring his voice. But there was something deeper twinkling behind his fear. If we can restore a sense of artistry here, perhaps we can rally more people to our cause. If they believe in something beyond violence, they might fight back. But the Varnathians are relentless. We could be torn apart, I stammered. With a gentle, almost delicate touch, he interlaced his fingers with mine, anchoring my racing thoughts. We are not just fighting to survive, we're fighting for the heart of our people. We can share our vision here in this very place. In that moment, I saw what he saw. A potential future formed from hope, one where the beauty we could create would unravel the desolation surrounding us. If we could inspire even a few, perhaps we could forge an insurrection made of artistry instead of bloodshed. It was reckless and dangerously naive, but it sparked a fire within me. Okay, I nodded, my heart thudding with conviction. Let's make this place a beacon. As the darkened shadows moved closer, we set to work. Together we rummaged through what remained of the art studio, unearthing long. Nord supplies a disheveled cache of paints, brushes, sculpting tools, and canvases bearing half finished dreams. Each piece held a fragment of past creation, and I felt the resonance of artistry filling my spirit, igniting the memories of my childhood absorbed in creation. Paint the walls, Jaska shouted, his eyes gleaming with inspiration. Let our colors speak louder than their bullets. Without hesitation, we began our creative venture. Brushes danced against the peeling walls as vibrant hues spilled like tales untold. Using the remnants of artists before us, we painted scenes of beauty and resilience, armed with nothing but hope. We strived to create a world where art flourished against all odds. Hours slipped away like grains of sand, as the encroaching danger was but a whisper in my mind. The heavy thuds of soldier boots faded into the background as our energies melded into passionate strokes. Laughter mingled with the urgency of creation, igniting a camaraderie, communication transcending words. I glanced at Jaska, whose passion ignited the very marrow of my being. He stood knee deep in pigments, his hair flecked with color as he sculpted a shining visage of the sun, smiling against the shadows. We can create something beautiful, he proclaimed, each stroke brimming with hope that rippled through both our souls. Is something that inspires action, I added, painting waves of cosmic stardust that shone over scenes depicting joy. A landscape where children laughed and elders shared stories, flourishing amongst chaos. But soon we were out of supplies and rapidly running out of time. Our haven wouldn't go unnoticed for long. The air thickened with tension as soldiers began to storm the market, seeking the flickering light that spilled from our sanctuary. Their shouts echoed through the street, determination painted across their faces. Let's go, I urged, but Joska shook his head. No, this is it, our moment to show them we will not cower. We will stand up against this darkness. His voice vibrated with vested certainty, and something inside me twisted, caught between fear and resolve. But they'll come for us, I protested, fear squeezing my heart. Let them. Joska's eyes blazed like a furnace. This is what they dread, a vision, unending hope. We paint the morning sun against their advancing dusk. The footsteps grew louder, ushering in an imminent storm. But there was the flicker of something primal within us. With fire ignited by creation, we grabbed our tools and prepared to transform our sanctuary into a stage. As the Varnathian soldiers burst through the battered doors, we turned the tide against fear, wielding our art like a shield. The moment they crossed the threshold, the air shimmered with dissonance. Bewilderment reflected in their armor-clad gazes as they beheld a vivid mural transformed from the ashes. A powerful tapestry of rebellion clawing its way to life. As their hands hesitated, I began speaking, letting my voice ride the rhythm of urgency. Look around you, this is what you fear. Our creative power, do you not see? We can create more than destruction. We can inspire a new kind of force. Art unites, Joska chimed in, standing resolute at my side. It breathes a language that transcends violence. Join us, and we can forge a community together. They were taken aback, uncertainty shimmering like a fine mist, and I felt the room pulse with a palpable tension. Soldiers exchanged glances, hesitated, and confusion began to paint doubt upon faces, once rigid with purpose. The echoes of war outside surged with intensity, yet inside this precarious space, would anyone dare to relent? Would any one of them swap their blades for brushes and join us in our quest for healing? Step forward if you think you can fight against us, I challenged, determination coursing through my veins. But if you hesitate, if you're tired of being puppets in someone else's cruel game, step toward the light. In that moment of confrontation, flickers of uncertainty played across their hardened masks. Then, one tentative soldier, a youth with curious eyes, lowered his weapon, glancing back at his comrades who, touched by the vibrant colors speaking to humanity beyond their uniforms, found similar hesitation settling in their hearts. As the first soldier took a trembling step forward, something ancient and beautiful simmered within. I want to see if we can be something more," he said, a tremor of fear echoing in his voice. One step became two, and soon more began to join, driven by curiosity, hope, and the potent longing to unshackle themselves from the oppressive darkness that wrapped around the fractured world. Time slipped through my grasp as more soldiers stepped closer, drawn into our light. They bore stories of their own, lives tarnished by pain but ignited by the spark of possibility. In this moment, every vibrant brushstroke we had forged converged into a chorus, our defense in the face of desolation. Together, I breathed, feeling the warmth of unity blossoming within the sanctuary we had created, transforming war into camaraderie. Together, we rise against the darkness, and so we began to work side by side, our once feared enemies joining us in creating something transcendent, galleries of hope, painted hope, an artful revolution sparked not from the ashes of despair, but from the explosive forces of radical unity. As we crafted new narratives of the world, I realized the tides had turned. It was more than just survival. We were molding a future intertwined in stories of resilience, tales that bound us all together amidst the chaos. And through the tumultuous horizon, we could see the dawn creeping in, emboldening the narrative we would fight to tell, shaping our own destinies while the canvas of tomorrow awaited our creative resolve. The soldiers once forged for combat were now artists, and I held my breath, watching our story unfold, realizing we were nothing less than a collection of souls igniting flames of change in pursuit of brighter tomorrows. There was magic happening amidst ruins. In a world divided, we became unified colors against the looming gray shadows. This was the dawning of a new era, one born from defiance against despair. As we continued our work, I knew that, together, we had forever changed the contours of both war and art, defying fate with every stroke. The sun broke through the haze, bathing the makeshift studio in a warm golden glow, transforming the colors we had painted into emblems of hope rather than motives for war. What had started as an act of desperation had blossomed into a movement, uniting the fragmented souls of soldiers and artists. We had forged a new battleground, one not marred by bloodshed, but empowered by creativity. As more soldiers joined us, abandoning the rigidity of their pasts, the atmosphere crackled with possibilities. The paintings on the walls had come alive, telling stories that echoed through the years, weaving tales of those who had fought for beauty and tyranny, each brushstroke a pledge to create rather than destroy. "Look, gather around, everyone," I called, waving my hand toward the largest mural. A breathtaking piece illustrating a vibrant community, bustling and thriving amidst the backdrop of a tranquil setting sun. Jaska leaned against the wall beside me, a grin splitting his face, the remnants of yesterday's weariness washed away by newfound hope. "They'll see how we could be," he said, nodding at the soldiers milling around. "In no more fear, only unified dreams." As the soldiers began to gather, I felt the weight of their collective gaze resting on us. They yearned for stories, to connect deeply with the paintings growing richer in layers, to understand the vision we were setting forth. "Each one of you holds a piece of what this community could become," I began, my voice ringing with conviction. "Today, you are not just warriors. You are creators, dreamers, architects of a world we can build together." Their shared uncertainty began to melt away, replaced by a beautiful curiosity as they engaged with the art that surrounded them. Murmurs of wonder and recognition rippled through the crowd as warriors became allies, and allies transformed into pioneers of change. Jaska stepped forward, his stature as commanding as ever, and projected his voice over the group. "We are faced with the choice to reshape our lives from the ashes of our history. The stories we paint here can illuminate the path toward healing." He paused, his expression shifting into something solemn. "But is this enough?" Crackling tension mingled with the air of creation, and soldiers shifted uneasily. "Will they allow it?" one soldier finally questioned. The doubt hung thick like smoke. I felt the rush of urgency course through me, igniting the flicker of ideas that I hadn't fully articulated yet. "It's not about them, it's about us. If we can evoke change within ourselves, the world will have no choice but to follow suit," I urged, heart racing. "We refuse to let fear dictate our destinies. We will reclaim the narrative." A sense of resolve surged through the crowd. Slowly, the palpable tension shifted into a spark of solidarity. "What do we do next?" Another voice chimed in, brighter and filled with determination. "We take our revolution where it matters most," I declared, feeling my heart beat in time with this fledgling community. "We must take our message beyond these walls." Jaska's eyes brightened, catching on to my fervor. "Yes, if we can gather everyone here. Thousands of voices united in purpose, imagine the influence. The art we create will inspire those still lost in darkness." Imagine public gatherings, showcases of creativity that display our commitment to peace. I added, visions flooding me of grand murals stretching across the city, colors exploding on the walls of buildings that had once cupped shadows. We need to send a message. A loud and raucous call for solidarity. As the momentum grew, it was then that the wind shifted, the fierce zeal of conviction fueling the people around us. We mobilized within hours, channeling our artistic visions into a force of resistance against the grind of desolation. The soldiers tiled trays of paints and art supplies in an assembly line, while others wired old projectors to showcase our pieces. Jaska and I enlisted former warriors to help craft banners woven with our themes of unity and creativity. "We'll need everyone's help," he said, rallying the soldiers like the best conductor leading an orchestra. "Those who wish to see change need to find their courage." The excitement was contagious, and soon a band of hopeful souls emerged, ready to change their narrative. Each emerging artist wore a determined look on their faces, chins raised as they embraced their pasts and fortified them with visions of what was yet to come. Days turned into nights filled with laughter, passion, and the intoxicating embrace of shared vulnerability. As we worked tirelessly to transform not only the studio but the city's heart, word of our movement wafted through the air like a gathering storm. The fortified walls of what had been a sanctuary unraveled as murals multiplied. Each layer of paint stirred the air around us, breathing life into the forgotten parts of our community. Soon, our creativity spilled into the adjacent marketplaces, alleyways, and vibrant squares once silenced by fear and oppression. "Look, it's beginning," Joska exclaimed one quiet evening as we stood overlooking our handiwork. Hues of radiant yellows, blues, and reds danced before us, chalking the streets with a cacophony of color, joy, and splendor. A stark contrast to the grayness that had seeped into every corner of our existence. "They're coming alive." He pointed toward the horizon. I followed his gaze and smiled, witnessing the townsfolk emerging from their houses, curiosity glimmering in their eyes. And then it happened. Gathered around our displays, they began to embrace the art, sharing stories behind their own scars, painting their own narratives, whispering promises of healing. Our community began the metamorphosis it so desperately needed, catalyzed by the emerging artistry now flourishing around them. Yet within that surge of inspiration lurked an undercurrent of anxiety. We realized that, while our art connected us, the resistance was still seeking to diminish the budding domestic uprising. Rumors of Varnathian forces bringing down the hammer on our art, and soul initiative began to spread. "We must be prepared," I said, addressing the crowd during an impromptu assembly that night. "We can't allow them to see our beauty as a weakness. They'll attempt to stomp it out, just as they have before." Joska nodded solemnly, standing at my side as waves of warmth surged from the crowd. "This is more than a movement now. Indeed," I continued, feeling solidarity wrap around us. "Each stroke of color, every shared moment fortifies our spirits, but we need to brace for the storm. This turning point, this awakening, will not go unchallenged." A hushed silence fell upon us like a shroud, weighed equally with dread and resilience. "What do we do if they come for us?" A hesitant voice broke through the quiet. "We stand as one," I affirmed, conviction lacing my words. "We speak louder through our art. If they wish to silence us, we create songs that will echo far beyond their reach." The collective heart of the gathering pulsed strongly, weaving disbelief and hope throughout the audience. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the flames of our creativity flickered against the encroaching darkness. Fear may have lain in the waiting shadows beyond our sanctuary of color, but we would illuminate every corner with our collective narrative, whether bathed in light or submerged in chaos. It felt as if the universe itself was knitting together the tapestry of our aspirations. The stage was set for our largest exhibition yet, a gathering that would put our resolve to the ultimate test. The very essence of our individuality intertwined with our determination. Our souls ablaze, we centered ourselves around the magnificent mural depicting our journey of hope, the vibrant hues becoming a tapestry woven tighter than the binds of war. As night fell, lanterns cast a soft glow, illuminating our masterpiece. People began to pour in, their faces reflecting awe and wonder. I could see Joska, wrapped in the warmth of newfound purpose, gesturing toward the mural, rallying the crowd's attention. "This is our anthem, an invitation to join us in this metamorphosis. We're all yearning for brighter tomorrows." The music that echoed beyond our sanctuary provided a buoyant rhythm that sparked mingling voices. Tales began unfurling into the night, blending together in a luminous chorus. But even as laughter rang out amid artistry and healing, a ripple of unease flowed through the gathering. A distant thundering locked itself in the air, sending hearts racing. Eyes darted to the night sky as flares ignited like falling stars. The first sign of Varnathian forces was imminent this time. They would not take our beauty lying down. The music faltered for just a moment as the crowd collectively inhaled a breath of uncertainty. But then came the resolute whisper of defiance rising above the noise, igniting something in me anew. "No more fear," I shouted, amplifying the fervor. "We stand together. They can't silence a voice that rings out in unity. The drums resumed, and with it, the rallying soldiers began to chant a symphony of soul, reclaiming our stories. As the Varnathians marched forward, ready to draw their lines of conquest, we stood beneath our mural, a legacy of hope forged from the crucible of our pasts. We won't cower, we won't falter, Joska thundered beside me. This is who we are, art defies oppression. The tension in the air crackled, charged with the electric potential for transformation. It was a collision of two worlds, the ferocity of established power meeting the tenacity of artists and dreamers standing defiantly against the din of chaos. A powerful wave of energy surged through the crowd, igniting each heart like flames licking at the souls of ice, resilience sticky with hope in a fight to reclaim whom we had lost along the way, as well as those yet to join our cause. Let them come, I shouted, the words ripping from my gut. Tonight, we fight not just to survive, but to thrive. This was no longer merely our last stand. It was the beginning of something far grander. Two sides collided, that night, nestled against the backdrop of the painted mural, where artistry transformed into weaponry and love took power back from the hands of tyranny. Each brushstroke resonated like the drumbeats in our chests, defying the encroaching shadows. The storm grew nearer, but so did our sense of purpose. Our narrative now had a goal. Together, we would write one last act, a history of our making. The dawn awaited our claim, and with it dawned the promise of rebirth renewed through vibrant colors. The universe had aligned, and we would spill our stories like an unstoppable torrent against a wall of oppression. The artful revolution was just beginning. The night thickened, and the thundering of boots grew into a tempest of turmoil. The unmistakable clash of creation meeting destruction. Outside, the Varnathian forces marched forward with unwavering conviction, a menace looming over the horizon of our emergence. We stood at the precipice of what felt like destiny, our hearts resounding like war drums, carving hope in defiance. Ready yourselves, Joska bellowed, capturing the courage woven into every soul present. Nothing like this had ever culminated in our lives. Artists and warriors blending purpose in an act of collective defiance. The mural before us, drenched in colors lively enough to burst into song, echoed tales of longing, struggle, and resilience. It whispered a promise that echoed through our veins. We had sensed the tide shifting. It was time to rise in our fiercest collective brilliance. Together, I called out, steadying my voice amidst the commotion. We are a force. Art is our weapon, our voice. We give the oppressed a means to reclaim their identity. Armed with creativity, paints, and fortified unity, we stood shoulder to shoulder, readying ourselves against the encroaching darkness. The soldiers marched closer, encased in the carbon black of their mechanized suits, faces hardened with resolve. A stillness hung momentarily in the air, drawing out breath after breath, a pocket of uncertainty that turned my heart inward. A reminder that fear still wrapped its tendrils around the bravest of hearts. They halted, scanning our makeshift fortress adorned by our art, confused by the sight of vibrant life pulsating against the harsh realities they represented. The magnificent tapestry we had built stood defiantly against a backdrop of yesterday's despair. My heart surged with purpose as I stepped forward, gazing down a line of armored foes as their weapons saw me. A vision dusted over with paint. Enough, I shouted, leaning into the weight of the moment. You've been trapped in a cycle of violence, shackled to chaos, but let this be your call to awaken. Step away from the shadows. Choose to become part of the beauty we have birthed. My impassioned words reverberated, gilding the air tinged with uncertainty. We are not your enemies. We are the heart beating beneath the surface. A movement to encourage freedom as it dares to break its chains. The atmosphere shifted as my words traveled through the wavering tension. Soldiers exchanged glances laden with doubt, a glimmer of curiosity igniting amongst them. But then, from among the ranks, a figure stepped forward, an officer adorned in resplendent armor. He locked his gaze on me, and for a heartbeat, the world stood still. You speak of beauty, he called out, but beauty cannot accomplish what must be done. Beauty cannot protect. A sudden silence draped over us as uncertainty threaded through the soldiers. "Forgive us for the havoc we cause," I shot back, my heart driving my intensity. "But it's our shared stories that birth this art. Unity will protect us from the destruction you perpetuate." "You think unity will shield you?" he challenged, stepping closer, the command emanating from him almost unbearable. The tension in the air felt thick enough to slice. Jaska took a bold step forward, edging beside me, his expression resolute. "It's the betrayal of art in favor of violence that has led us down this path of numbness and grief. The time has come to reject the rising tides of battle and embrace compassion." A murmur rippled through the gathered crowd behind us, galvanizing our spirits. The mission was sturdy, our resolve was crystallized. The officer hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty shadowing his hardened demeanor, the unyielding focus of resistance beginning to falter. "In our divided lives, we are aware pain has led us here," I continued, allowing my voice to echo over the silence. "It has splintered us, prowled the edges of our existence. But what if the act of defining beauty returns us to a space of wholeness, arise in the art we create together? Let it be your conduit for change." A ripple passed through the voiceless ranks of soldiers as the officer's chest expanded, an unmistakable agitation surfacing. "Are you suggesting we forsake our duty?" He spat, a flicker of doubt shadowing his stern gaze. "That beauty will supersede order, you know," Jaska interjected, fervor radiating from him like warmth after months of cold. "We ask you to redefine duty itself. Let compassion guide your choices. Your duty need not lay in violence. It can also thrive in artistry. Join us. Make space for our collective truths." The landscape felt electrified, a tangible charge thrumming in the air that awakened something dormant within the onlookers. The soldiers waited, shifting, their expressions wavering in uncertainty as we painted a vision that beckoned from the horizon. One soldier stepped forward from behind the officer, a soft-spoken woman, her voice trembling with passion. "What if we could do both?" she asked hesitantly. "Protect the world we've built, yet breathe life into change." Gasps echoed softly around me, and whispers began to cascade through the crowd, interest flaring amidst the assembly. Thoughts ignited like sparks catching dry grass amid impending rain. It was becoming clear. "You are more than contractors of conflict," I replied, emotions swelling as I met her gaze. "You are custodians of your communities, and your artistry lies in the choices you make every day." In that moment, a collective nod delivered across the line of soldiers, a flicker of understanding drawn from the tension at play. They began to speak among themselves, unraveling the constructs that had once bound their roles tightly. The officer's mask, marred by uncertainty, began to shift, a crack revealing glimmers of introspection behind a steel facade. "So we can choose?" he asked, letting the question roll from his tongue like a confession. "We can choose a future painted by possibilities rather than losses. Yes," Jaska declared, summoning renewed vigor. "Join us. Let's make our stand not against each other, but against complacency. Design a revolution with those in our hearts." The words tumbled from the souls of all gathered, a unison of voices calling for liberation that rippled through the very fabric of the air. The future lay splendid before us, of action and creation intertwined. If we dared pick up the brushes that could reshape destiny. The soldiers stood at a turning point, the weight of their shared history resting heavily on their shoulders, seeking the promise of tomorrow. With each passing moment, the line between us blurred, a tapestry weaving strength and empathy, and right before my eyes, the landscape began to shift. The desire for change had ignited a flame within those formerly held apart in strife. With hesitant movements, one by one they stepped forward, shedding the constraints of their pasts, the collective of humanity filling the void left by script of decay. "Then let's forge this future," another soldier declared, voice resolute, igniting the fire of willingness across the assembly. "For our families and for our home." And then, as if calling forward the universe's approval, a vivid wave of energy swept through the crowd. an embrace of breathtaking colors swirling in the air, each person shedding fear as warmth surged inside. In this collision of intention and empathy, we realized that we would not just remain creators of art. We would become artisans of our world's future, rewriting the narrative that had once sought to confine us. "We will rise together, unified as one," I called, letting my heart spill into the words as the rest of those gathered rallied behind me. Where history once divided and ruled, we will construct our community cemented in shared stories. The echoes vibrated through the air like a sweeping anthem. The transformation ignited passions within combatants fresh from war, carrying a newfound conviction that could inspire the rest of the world. Empowered by compassion, we will rise, we will rise, Jaska echoed back, the fervor palpable as artists and soldiers converged into a single body, crafting their destiny. And then we began to paint our future, shelving past resentment in favor of a revolution born of brightness. The tumultuous storm outside was met with a radiant warmth, enveloping our aspirations like a beacon against the darkness looming just beyond our horizon. It was an artful rebellion, an earnest beginning, and we wouldn't back down. The dawn embraced the shadows lurking fearfully at the edges, igniting the canvas of the world with hues it had long forgotten. A sprawling narrative awaiting our essence. Together, we were a force to be reckoned with, and with that truth, we stepped into the future, all of us, not as warriors alone, but creators of life breathing beauty into existence. Outside, under the darkened sky where turmoil bound fighters of war into visions of creation, we knew one thing. The moment had arisen when we could forge freedom not just in our hands, but in the strokes of brilliance we all brought forth in unity. Here, creation would reign, and art would be our quill, chronicling every moment lived toward a brighter tomorrow. And so it began. As the sun began to rise slowly over the horizon, casting the freshly painted mural in breathtaking colors, we stood shoulder to shoulder. Those who had once fought against one another, united now for the most significant cause of our lives. The echoes of yesteryears sparked into vibrant flames of purpose. This was not merely a confrontation, it was our definitive moment. Today, we chose to seize our destinies, to ripple change across the world and, twined hand in hand, stepping fearlessly into the dawn of a new era. The air was electric with anticipation as dawn broke over the ruins of Skylith, the rising sun draping its golden rays across our newly painted mural. Jaska and I stood shoulder to shoulder, flanked by a burgeoning army of artists and former soldiers. In this decisive moment, hope, courage, and a shared love for what we were creating blended into something tangible, a kinetic energy pulsing through the crowd, a heart beating with possibility. "Are you ready?" I whispered to Jaska, feeling the weight of the chaos that had brought us here bearing down on us. He turned to me, his hazel eyes sparkling with determination, somehow imbued with a deeper sense of purpose than I had ever seen. "As ready as we'll ever be," he replied, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "We've painted our heart into every brushstroke, and now it's time to let it guide us forward." As the sun rose higher, we began to move toward the center of Skylith, where the remnants of Varnathian forces congregated. Dark figures loomed against the light. Their serious expressions were a stark contrast to the vibrancy emanating from our surroundings. People were gathering, drawn by the magnetic pull of the movement we had sparked. They listened closely as whispers swirled around us, a symphony of stories interlinking lives forged through adversity. "Let them come," I murmured, emboldened by the rising tide of energy. We cannot shy away from confrontation. We're not just defending art, we are becoming the embodiment of resilience. I felt the emotions swell within my chest, every beat of my heart echoing the narrative we'd fought to reclaim. By the time we reached the command center, the remnants of an old governmental building, overtaken by Varnathians, our crowd had swelled, filled with those who had walked the line between soldier and artist, dreamer and fighter. Colors danced upon fabric, the festival of a new world unfolding in a city once burdened by decay. As I stood on the steps of that once mighty bastion of authority, the soldiers were panting in the shadows, gripping firearms with uncertainty, but within their eyes flickered the light of possibility. A brave wave of solidarity rolled through the crowd, pushing me forward into the fray. "Listen," I shouted, my voice rising above the din of anticipation. "What you see before you is not just a painting. These canvases, these colors, they are the heartbeats of our community. This is not merely about survival. This is the time for something much greater. We are defining our purpose." Murmurs rippled through the throng, and I turned to face the soldiers, my heart racing. "We have lived under the weight of fear, but it doesn't have to be our legacy. Step forward and experience what it means to share in the celebration of creativity. All notions of past violence buried beneath each brushstroke." I caught sight of Commander Elash, the officer who had challenged us. He stood, face tightened nearly to a breaking point, but skepticism softened in his eyes. I sensed curiosity, a shift that dared to explore a life forged anew. "Do you not want to be free?" I pleaded, feeling the amalgamation of artists and warriors behind me, a pulsating backdrop ready to unite and reshape our destinies. We will never reach for brighter tomorrows if we allow ourselves to be shackled by yesterday's ghosts. Abruptly, the wind picked up, carrying whispers of uncertainty through the crowd as indignation swelled around us. Jaska stepped forward, joining me at the edge of our burgeoning platform. "This isn't just a canvas, it's our community's soul. We have the power to reshape our identity. Follow us into this light." As the encroaching shadows of the Varnathians loomed behind Elash, what should have felt like an impending storm transformed into an electric current. In that moment, the mural rippled with life. A dazzling connection radiated as our stories intermingled, binding us together beyond mere existence. "Look at what we have created." I gestured around, letting my arms sweep toward the vibrant colors that had sprung from our hearts. "Together, we can craft a new era. Our struggles can be transformed into works of art that serve as reminders of strength, fortitude, and love, rather than symbols of division and despair." As if stirred by the fervor of our convictions, whispers of dissent began to rise among the Varnathians. The soldiers' expressions softened further, faces turning toward one another as they studied the vibrant tapestry we had woven. Commander Elash remained silent, his eyes caught between the passion radiating before him and the fading shadows of his past. Yet that flicker of potential, a flash of unexpected hope, was all we needed. "Will you give us a chance?" I asked, locking my gaze onto his, drawing all my strength from the connections forged behind me. "Can we explore the depths of artistry together and emerge as something far greater than what has divided us?" A tangible silence enveloped the crowd, time stretching taut as the breaths of uncertainty echoed through hollow chambers. After what felt like an eternity, Elash stepped forward, the weight of leadership steeped in clarity. "You propose a delicate balance, a curious journey into the unknown. Can our past meld with your vision of the future?" My heart pounded determinedly against my ribcage. "Yes," and in unison our crowd responded, shouting with vivid passion that reverberated like earthquakes through the old streets of the city. Patience suffused the faces all around us, the spark of connection igniting something that could not be extinguished. As the tension reached a boiling point, Elash took a measured breath. "Very well. If we are truly to redefine our purpose, I will step into the unknown." His acceptance sent ripples of exhilaration coursing through the crowd. It felt as if the very fabric of Skylith shifted beneath us, and in that surge of hope, I embraced the moment. Jaska and I met eyes, the recognition of our journey unfurling between us. This was our moment, the amalgamation of souls painted anew upon the canvas of our world. With the vibrant hues of life unfurling around us, we descended from the steps toward the throng of humanity at our feet. "Let this be our reconciliation," I called, feeling the words crackle with promise, "for everyone here past and present. Together, we will unleash a wave of creativity powerful enough to heal our fractured world." The soldiers moved forward, their hearts fluttering in sync as they stepped into the light we had forged together. We linked arms of vibrant tapestry, intertwining each soul, artists and warriors, marching side by side as one. And with steadfast conviction, we set forth, determined to bridge the chasms of our past with the artistry of our present, knowing that the dawn had arrived, not just as survivors, but as a community united in creativity and compassion, ready to shape a future that would echo through time. As we forged ahead, I turned to Jaska. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together. Always, he promised with a confidence that radiated warmth. With art as our weapon and hope as our compass, we stepped into the uncharted horizon, ready to reclaim and reshape our narratives together. Together, we were the dawn, rising in radiant splendor against the gray, and this time no force could keep us from shining. The city of Skylith lay before us, a canvas painted in hues of defiance and hope, the remnants of our past fading into whispers. The dawning sun cast an iridescent light over the vibrant murals we had created, the stories of our community stretching wide across the walls like a collective heartbeat. Yet beneath the surface, I felt the undercurrents of uncertainty. Our newfound unity was but a fragile flower blooming amidst the ruins, one that the Varnathians might seek to crush. Still, as I stood at the forefront of our crowded assembly, a surge of determination flowed through me. The vibrant colors splashed across the landscape symbolized the promise of tomorrow and the beauty of our collective spirit. Together, artists and soldiers dared to believe in a world forged by cooperation rather than conflict. Together, united, we rise. I shouted, my voice ringing out across the gathering crowd, igniting a fire within our ranks. Today marks the dawn of a new legacy for Skylith, a legacy that refuses to succumb to fear. The response was electric. Cheering erupted from the crowd, shattering the remnants of the silence that once bound us. We were a tapestry woven together by threads of shared sacrifice, resilience, and vulnerability. I felt Jaska's hand squeeze mine, grounding me against the swirling tides of emotion. He stepped forward beside me, his eyes gleaming with the determination that had ignited our fight. And now that our pasts no longer cling to us, Jaska proclaimed, we must forge a future where every stroke of artistry bears our aspiration for peace. Let their fear fuel our hope. His charismatic energy coursed through the crowd, illuminating the hearts of warriors turned creators. But as our voices harmonized in a blossoming anthem of hopeful purpose, a static tension prickled in the air. The distant rumble of armored vehicles and the silhouette of Varnathian troops casting long shadows over our city simmered beneath the vibrant energy we had cultivated. Indeed, whispers of our movement had reached their ears. I could feel it, an imminent storm stirring across the horizon. We had drawn a line in the sand, and with every stroke of artistry, we ignited hope in a world steeped in despair. Yet, would they let us stand unchallenged, stand strong? I shouted, catching the gaze of every individual present. The time had come to prepare for the looming conflict. They needed to see that we were not mere shadows of our pasts. We were a radiant force fueled by dreams that couldn't be quenched. We take to the streets, create a vivid tapestry of resistance. Jaska turned to the soldiers lined beside us, their steely gazes shifting to assess the challenge ahead. We build our strength not only through art, but by welcoming everyone. Tonight, we spread the message far and wide. He added, addressing the growing gathering beneath the vibrant canvas of dreams. Info networks are still active, shouted a soldier, his voice cutting through the chorus. We can broadcast a signal reaching beyond the city, a call that reserves our right to exist. The decision tallied along us like rising flames, a pulse of energy flowing through the crowd. The Varnathian influence had quaked into chaos, but through that chaos, we had found ourselves networks of community and shared voices. It was time to broadcast our message, to raise the banner of our artistry and resilience high above the din of spreading despair. I'll handle the tech, the soldier insisted, rushing toward an alley where remnants of equipment lay hidden, untouched by time. Excitement crackled in our hearts. There was a decisive plan unfolding before us. As we moved into action, my pulse quickened with each heart that gathered. The soldiers transformed into a protective wall of camaraderie around the gathering throng. We reconnected the scattered circuitry that lay dormant, mingling it with our artistic desires to create visuals unlike any the world had seen. The soldiers stripped away the past, binding them to furious battle as they pulled the canvases closer, channeling their hidden artistic talents into vibrant displays of resistance. The intertwining strokes danced on the walls, melding the remnants of our individual stories into a collective voice, a glorious roar of humanity reclaiming its identity. "I'll send the message," the soldier announced, frantically connecting wires and piecing together old equipment. "When we go live, we need everyone on board. We'll display our hopes, our dreams, and our unity in art." The nearby repaired projector whirred to life, breathing vibrancy into the air. As the projector glimmered, we created vivid displays of our intentions, the essence of revitalized community, unfolded before our eyes, splashing its brilliance across the cragged surfaces throughout the city. The colors coalesced into patterns of resilience and unity, a tapestry that soared beyond mere existence. We gathered while the soldiers' hearts, once heavy with battle, took flight upon strokes of creativity. I surrendered to the pulse of the crowd as our beautiful creation became a potent symbol of our commitment to a peaceful future. "Are we ready?" I asked, meeting the fierce eyes of Joska. He nodded, and the echoes of our shared intentions thundered through the listening crowd like a tidal wave. "Ready!" The crowd resounded in unison, voices intertwining as one. "Then let's make this a movement that ripples through time." Together, we stepped forward. The air shimmered with anticipation as we stood united. Taking a deep breath, I turned back to the projector. "Let the world know we will not be silenced. Our voices will resound like a beautiful song." Our call radiated through networks, streaming our colors far beyond the barricaded streets. As the projected visuals flickered to life, tales of our struggles vividly etched themselves into the purview of the city. The past may have darkened our horizon, but amid the canvas we painted with our stories flickered glimpses of light, a spark of transformation on the glassy surface of despair. The rhythmic heart of our community jumped in time with the swell of hope reflected back from the crowd. Each picture, each scene, became a reminder that we had redefined our purpose and embraced a future where beauty took precedence over hatred. As the Varnathian troops marched closer, equipped with their own weapons of repression, we unfurled our banners of creativity, swirling colors challenging the darkness approaching. The beauty of our work emblazoned against the horizon became a beacon. It was neither fear nor malice that prepared their resolve, but unity and artistry that ignited our spirits. The storm broke on the horizon, a wall rising against us, but we would not run. We would stand firm, resolute. Our cries for freedom echoed through the streets. "Art sets us free." My voice soared above the fray as hope intermingled with dread, creating a vibrant tapestry binding soldier and artist alike. The moment those Varnathian forces crossed the threshold into our realm, they caught sight of the projection. This testament of our determination, resilience, and strength pouring forth from the sanctum we had created. Beneath the dazzling colors, curiosity sparked. They could see the tapestry come alive, and within it lay the reflection of humanity's deepest desires. The swath of vibrant expressions crashed against the soldiers' resolve. For a moment they hesitated, caught in the magnetic pull of what we had built together. They hadn't expected this flicker of brilliance amid a struggle waged in shadows, a paradox presenting itself under the stunning light of artistry. "Will you join us?" I implored, standing at the precipice, eyes sweeping across expressions that had once been hardened with the weight of inevitability. And in that instance, I saw the tumult within them. How many shared the community's yearning for beauty, for a purpose? How many felt trapped in a cycle they desperately wished to break? One by one, the soldiers stepped to the front, aligning themselves beside us. They held their weapons higher than their spirits, but the flame of choice glimmered bright within their eyes. Yes, they declared, voices breaking the silence, threading strength amidst the complex tapestry we had woven beneath the vast skies. "We will stand with art instead of battle." Together, we became a force, a unified representation of humanity, resolution soaring higher than the wrath of our old lives. Colors painted the horizon, each brushstroke rebuking not only the chaos we had navigated, but inscribing a new chapter embroidered with truths and wisdom. That we were more than the conflicts that once bound us. As the sun broke free from the shackles of night, washing the world in golden light, we rose together. Here, in this shared rebellion of the spirit, we realized we were not the last remnants of a faded world. We were the artists of a brighter tomorrow. Letting go of fear, we transcended the boundaries that had separated us for so long, echoing a resounding truth through the ages. Beauty can reshape destiny, catalyzed by the power of all who dare to unify. And together, we became the architects of change, stewards of a new narrative, one grounded in hope and woven from our collective soul. Today, we would strive in courage, turning every wound into a stroke of resilience, our symphony blossoming forth with every beat of our regained heart. The dawn welcomed our artistry, the dawn welcomed our fight, and as long as we stood together, there was no limit to the colors we could create in the tapestry of the future. Together, we triumphed not just for ourselves, but for a world hungry for light. It was time to embrace our destiny and rise as a flourishing constellation in the horizon of tomorrow. A vibrant swirl of art that would echo through the realms of existence, reverberating long after our stories had been spun. As we readied ourselves for the final confrontation and the world watched, we knew this was the beginning of something great, a movement forged in flame and artistic passion, a light that could never be extinguished. Today was only the first stroke in an expansive journey that beckoned beyond the limits of understanding, and we were ready to answer its call. Today, we became the artists of revolution, and the world would never underestimate the power of our resolve again. Beneath the cerulean skies of Augmentia, where the delicate lines between reality and creation blurred like watercolor on a canvas, the air thrummed with the soft pulse of augmented reality. Almost ethereal, the city glimmered with constellations that lay tied to humanity's spirit, yet shadows lurked, corroding the brilliance. For too long, the ascendants had ruled from their obsidian towers, cloaked in secrecy, manipulating the very fabric of existence, economies, consciousness, dreams. But now, standing at the precipice of freedom, we prepared for one last stand against an establishment that sought to crush our hopes under the weight of its enforced order. I stood in the heart of the Resistance's sanctuary, a dome of light and sound pulsating with vibrant energy and flickering holograms. Around me, warriors, both the awakened and those newly initiated into our ranks, gathered, their faces a blend of determination and uncertainty. It was here, in this fusion of technology and spirit, that we would wage war against the tyrannical ascendants who had sown discord among our people. Today is not merely a battle for Augmentia, I said, amplifying my voice to rise above the din of finger, hacking, full, dive simulations, and industrious augments screeching as they interfaced with one another. It is a fight for the very essence of what it means to be human in an age shaped by artifice. The crowd surged with energy, eyes gleaming with hope and conviction as they responded to the call. This was not just about us, it was about everyone who had ever felt the sting of oppression, everyone who sought to reclaim hope from the clutches of despair. Establish communication routes, commanded Neria, a tech savant who had once walked the halls of the Ascendant Tower as an elite programmer. We need to route the Resistance signal through every node in Augmentia. We will broadcast our intentions and our presence. Her fingers danced frantically over multiple holographic interfaces, coding intricacies to create a web that would outstrip the fortified mechanisms of the Ascendants. The intensity enveloped us, merging into a collective heartbeat aimed toward transforming Augmentia's skyline into a canvas of revolt, a megaphone for unity. I could taste the charged energy swirling around us, a force primed to unleash prophecy upon the world. Behind me stood Arkai, my friend transformed into an indomitable warrior. His once feeble frame now pulsated with augmented power. "The Ascendants cannot silence us forever," he said, flexing his augmented arm, the intricate metalwork glistening in the ambient light. They've built their walls, but we will raise our voices. What do we have if not our dreams? Let each mural we create speak to generations after us. As we strategized the minute details of our plan, scanners monitored the streets, registering every inch of activity that stirred close to the ascendant towers. Clarity began to emerge. They were on the move. Every heartbeat interspersed with the sound of approaching drones reverberating through the veins of the city. Time is of the essence, I shouted, urgency coursing through my veins. They know we're amassing. Let's ask for volunteers to engage. I looked over the crowd, scanning those faces ignited with fire and purpose. This is our moment. Together, let's bring our dreams to life where they belong. Without hesitation, hands shot up among the throng, eager spirits prepared to dive headfirst into the fray. Inspired by the mural displays of colors reflecting hope and unity, every soul exuded fervor. All right then, I called. Our first mission will be to target the data streams converging in the upper district. We will unleash a viral code made from the very memories manipulated by the ascendants. Let them feel our strength. Let them witness the artistry they sought to extinguish. A roar echoed through the sanctuary, and as we embarked on our mission, I clutched Arkai's shoulder briefly, our bond crystallizing with the promise of cohesion. Power surged through me as we flowed into the streets of Augmentia, united against an entity that had obscured our vitality for too long. Holographic art refracted around us, a testament to the dreams we had forged together against the encroaching darkness. As we ascended higher into the canopy of augmented plans, vibrant streams of color trailed from our hands, unraveling the prescribed image of reality crafted by the ascendants. With every mural flickering to life in a cascade of colors, shattered the silence that reigned over the augmented city, a silent rebellion unleashed through the stories belonging to each of us. I can see them, Neria shouted, her voice taut with urgency as she stood at the intersection of several data streams. The night air shimmered as flares of golden light exploded around us. They're rising from their bastions, mobilizing drones to hunt us down. We must move. We turned toward the central network tower, where the heart of their technological vine intertwined within Augmentia. My instincts swelled with anticipation. The stakes lay not only in the fight against oppression, but in unearthing the roots of artistry submerged beneath layers of control. What are we waiting for? I shouted, feeling a surge of adrenaline crackle through my fingertips. Let them face the storm that awaits. With fervor renewed, we raced toward the tower, our silhouettes flickering against the backdrop of holography. Hold your ground, Arkai barked as we reached the base of the formidable structure, its surface rippling with defenses that glimmered ominously like blackened gemstones. A tapestry of security designed to entrap us into submission. Remember, it's not just us who stand against them. This is the culmination of art against artificiality. I clenched my fists, steadying my breath as we confronted layers of obstacles. We will overcome, I declared, channeling strength and resolve into our efforts. We would no longer be mere players in their hands, we would rise, arching high as creators. Neria stationed herself with precision at the terminal, a formidable display of luminous screens and rebellious codes. I'm tapping into their systems, she whispered, fingers flying across the controls as she prepared to weave our escape. But at that moment, the atmosphere shifted. The drones descended around us, metallic behemoths casting shadows that glibly rushed through our ranks. They've found us, one of our comrades shouted, despair settling heavily amidst our creative whirlwinds. Brace yourselves, Arkai urged, swallowing the dread. Drones incoming, hold your ground, we stand together. It was a moment suspended in time, an air thick with the clamor of oncoming danger. We embraced the moment, unleashing waves of color against the drones that cascaded toward us. As the growing conflict swirled around us, an electrifying swarm of vivid hues painted the night sky, illuminating our essence as we fought back against tyranny. One by one, drones fell from the sky. Our art became our weapon, rupturing the shackles of control imposed by the ascendants. As the air reverberated with the defiance of holographic displays, I felt something stir deep within me, a realization crystallizing into purpose. Our dreams can breathe life into this city, I shouted, rallying those who stood with me. Each color represents our struggles, drenched in passion and resilience. They cannot take that from us. Use that power for all of Augmentia. With a fierce united roar, we surged forward with artistry bursting forth through the veils erected by the ascendants. No longer would we quell our desires. No longer would we silence our voices. Each flicker of our rage transformed into brilliant brushstrokes, igniting our shared humanity. Now, Nerea shouted triumphantly as the mainframe began to unravel beneath her careful touch. The tower's defenses faltered, and the looming shadows abruptly dissipated, unveiling a path to the heart of their operations. Together, we breached the core of destructive ambition, their very foundation built on manipulation. And therein lay our true victory. For Augmentia, we roared as we marched forward, each heart beating in time as we united art with purpose. In that moment, the Ascendant's grip weakened, and embers of hope ignited all around us. The world could hear our defiance. We would not just reshape ourselves, we would redefine a legacy now cast in light. A testament to all who dared to fight against the shadows of despair. The crescendo into artistry resonated in every heart gathered here. Together, we were more than just warriors. We were creators, architects of a world where dreams soared free. And under the cerulean sky of Augmentia, we persevered, our story only beginning to unfold as dawn broke over the city of Augmentia. The brilliant hues of the murals painted across the soaring structures bled into the clear blue sky, transforming the skyline into an abstraction of hope. The shadow of the Ascendants was beginning to lift as the final chords of resistance sang through the air, echoed by our united voices. Push forward, I shouted, my spirit ignited by the sight of our combined force. A coalition of artists, dreamers, and soldiers. Each step we took resonated with the collective pulse of our fight, the culmination of every sacrifice, every mural crafted, and every heart awakened. We had breached the Ascendant stronghold, but this was just the beginning. The pulse of the rebellion soared as we pressed deeper into the heart of their operations. Have we unlocked the core access yet? I called to Nerea, who hovered over the mainframe terminal of the tower, fingers moving deftly through cascading holographic displays. She was relentless, her eyes sparkling with determination. Almost there, she replied, the glow from the screens reflected in her wide-eyed focus. I've breached their firewalls, but we need another minute. The Ascendants are scrambling to deploy their defenses remotely. Behind us, a surge of drones zoomed in on our position, their metallic hum slicing through the air like a bludgeon. Armed with improvised weapons and a fierce determination, our crew was ready. Get ready, Arkai shouted, positioning himself between the mainframe and the approaching threats. Each breath was held tight as we prepared for the inevitable clash, united in the face of darkness. A cacophony of sounds surged forward. A burst of vibrant colors ignited through our direct vicinity as we unleashed a wave of augmented artwork we had prepared. Art that was designed not only to beautify but to blind. It shimmered and sparkled, a guerrilla display of holographic art that danced like fireflies across the battlefield. Now, we will not let them overwhelm us. I urged, the adrenaline surging through me as the drones collided with our colorful defenses. As explosions fizzled and ricocheted in vibrant bursts, shadows flickered, and for a heartbeat, we stood undeterred, embracing the weight of our shared purpose. With each detonation of holographic light, the Ascendants hesitated. The artistic pulse of Augmentia grew louder, echoing through the wires and ripping through the coils of their control. I felt the essence of the city, the heart we were fighting for, rushing through my veins, igniting courage. Just a little longer. Nerea's voice broke through the din as she typed furiously, manipulating the codes that held the core of the Ascendant's stronghold together. I'm scrambling their defenses and routing our signal through the data streams. This will amplify our connection to the people, letting them see what we've created. Take cover. Drones incoming. Arc, I yelled as he swung his arm forward, shattering the nearest metallic beast with a wrench. I ducked with several others, my heart pounding as debris rained around us. The air shimmered with the lingering scent of burning circuitry, a reminder of what was at stake. Target their propulsion systems, I shouted, motioning to my comrades. We formed small clusters, darting forward to independently dismantle the drones moving toward us like phantoms. Our movement became a choreography of solidarity, arms and legs swinging, strategist minds collaborating as instinct melded with creativity. Each battlefield was an extension of our wills as they exploded against the artistry swirling in the air. Connection established. Neria yelled as screens illuminated behind us with fractals of color that blossomed into full images of every mural we had created. It's happening. Augmentia will see our struggle. With a collective roar, we surged forward, the remnants of drones scattered across the ground, defied by our colorful rebellion. Each body moved together as an interlinking force. It felt as though the city was throbbing beneath our feet, responding to its people's determination. We're moving to the core, I breathed, a rush of fierce conviction coursing through me. This is it. Let's finish this. As we approached the heart of the structure, the mainframe pulsed with a blinding glow, the nerve center of the Ascendant's machinations. It required finality, resolution that would transcend the conflict of old. Let's make it count, Arkai shouted, positioning himself in front of gate access while Neria flooded the console with hastily prepared data streams. Our faces reflected the urgency as holographic displays whirled around us, encapsulating our hopes within visible waves of thought and pursuit. And now, I yelled, my voice ringing sharp against the pulsating backdrop, and we converged at the core, unleashing an avalanche of artistry we had crafted. Rise, Augmentia, Neria cried, fingers dancing over the glowing panel as she unleashed a cascading data upload. Every brushstroke danced into the air as pillars of light shot up, igniting the surroundings in a spiral of vibrant colors. The cascading visuals poured forth as a beautiful tapestry filled with our shared stories, engulfed the Ascendant's construct color after color, spinning threads of resistance and hope straight from the heart of our people. When the explosion erupted, it vibrated through our bones. The screen erupted, enveloping the room in dazzling visuals, the artistic revolution encroaching, paralyzing even the most steadfast of souls. The Ascendant's shadows began to dissolve, a discordant rebellion now igniting in echoes throughout the city. Lives untangled from oppression surfaced like prisms thrown into the air. We will rise together, I shouted over the roar, my heart pounding with exhilaration. Mosaics of our city, each a story of resilience and community, throbbed on every monochrome surface. As the data rippled across the city, the cries of hope transformed into war cries, and the sight of ascending artistry spread through Augmentia like wildfire. People emerged from the underbelly of the concrete and glass, rallying together outside the towering ascendant constructs. Suddenly, as our final visualization lit the realm, a terrible silence fell. The Ascendants, their hold absorbed into the brilliance of our art, tensed vulnerability flashing across their faces. The public's cries echoed like a hymn beneath the colors we had painted together, their gaze unwavering. Join us, I roared, locked in the eye of the storm. We are not here to continue the cycle of violence. We are here to transcend its hold. Augmentia belongs to everyone. Let us unite under hope. And as I released those words into the space that enveloped us, my declaration thrumming with fervor, the ground shook beneath us, rippling from our center and spilling outward into the streets. Surges of energy washed over the cityscape, painting it anew with every heartbeat. It carried our dreams not just to today, but threading them through every tomorrow. With renewed determination, we pressed onward, the world before us invigorated with the vibrant essence of our stories, each color synonymous with our futures entwined. There was no stopping now. Life and creation tangled together. In that moment, the Ascendants could only watch as we swept over them, united by the unbreakable thread of art, solidarity, and creativity. We were no longer lost in their machinations, we were lighting our path through the labyrinth, igniting an era of beauty unchained, an era that would forever alter the fabric of time. As the specter of the past began to fade, reality settled like a new dawn, a canvas filled with possibility unfurling before us. We were artists, warriors, dreamers, explorers. We would grow, our colors merging as vessels of vibrancy, stretching toward an unbounded future tethered together. We would not simply resign to the shadows of struggle. We would burn brighter, a potent flame flickering across the galaxies. A reminder that art could indeed reshape destinies and unite generations against the threads of oppression. Walking hand in hand with Archai and Neria, I stood at the precipice of something profound, ready to pursue eternity where creativity knew no bounds. We had ignited a spark that would echo far beyond any single battle. And so, our color reveled as we moved through the splendor of our city, breathing life into hope. We stepped forth together. The dawn of rebirth awaited. Amidst the canvas of a new world, we were ready to embrace endlessly weaving stories into the narrative of existence. Our legacy was just beginning.